Hi everyone, my name is Cody Perkins. I'm going to do a quick introduction to my camera. I have an Olympus E-M10 II, which is a micro four thirds mirrorless camera. So it's a little bit different than the DSLR, but all the functionalities there. So we'll just walk through that. So similar to the DSLR, once you turn the camera on, right, you have this dial on the top. So most people would use the auto function, which would set the shutter and aperture settings for you, as well as some other settings. But you can also turn it to A, which would be the aperture priority, S for shutter priority, and M for manual. And then within each of those settings, you can use these two dials right here, the front dial and the rear dial, to control some of the functionality. So for instance, if we're in manual, unlock my lens here so the screen turns on. So while we're in manual, if we turn the front dial, you can see down here, right, the aperture setting shifts. And if we turn the right dial, same thing, you can see the shutter speed shifts there as well. We also have the light meter down here at the bottom, right here, so showing that currently the image would be underexposed, right? So if we adjust that back, you can see it start to rein in a little bit. So we can try and get it back to where it's supposed to be, right? You can see the ISO setting on the screen right here, but if we wanted to change it, we'd press the OK button over here. It brings up our menu, and so we can select ISO and set it to whatever we'd want, right? I have it set to 1600 to work on the assignment today. Similarly, you can change the image size, again, by pressing OK, coming down here, selecting image size, and you can get into the compression as well as the image size and switch between RAW and JPEG. So we're going to leave that as large with normal compression. And then finally, the white balance. Oh, it's all right, entered into my pictures there. Get into the white balance here. So right now it's set to auto, but we can go through and has a whole range of settings depending on our needs. So we're going to leave that at auto. And then the other setting is the exposure compensation. So if you watch the light meter down here, if I turn that front dial, you can see I can start to control. I'm sorry, I'm in manual, which doesn't work. If I set it to shutter priority, and then I turn that front dial, you can see down here on the light meter, the green line starts to appear. Might be a little bit hard to see. And so that's our exposure compensation. Okay. And then if we wanted to turn off the autofocus for this camera, we'd go back into the menu by pressing OK, click down. You can see right now it's set to autofocus. This is single autofocus, continue autofocus, and there's manual focus right there. So we'll leave that back here. So fairly straightforward. Everything's pretty accessible. The camera's a little bit smaller than a DSLR, so any of the things we need to manage on the screen, you can see the screen's only slightly bigger than my thumb. So that would be the only downside, but all the functionality seems to be there. So, thanks.